going on, guys? Today's video has been requested multiple times, so I figured I would finally get around to doing it. I'm just going to go over in some sort of detail what's going on with this rig that's become sort of famous. This is my 79 Jeep CJ-7. It started life about 5 years ago. We picked it up, this white fiberglass tub, on a stock Jeep CJ frame with just a block from, it was block and heads, just a 350, and then it had SM 465 manual trans and an NP 205 transfer case. So the very first iteration of this Jeep was assembled on leaf springs with some crappy old Jeep shocks on the stock frame, stock width, Dana 40. Oh, it also had, yeah, it had Scout Dana 44 axles, no wheels or anything. So it ended up getting trail-worthy fabs, H1 wheels, the double bead locks, and putting the 350 together with the TBI kit, slamming it all together. It's still an awesome rig. I'll try to link some photos if I have any to throw in this video, so if they're there, that's great. If not, well, whatever. Didn't last long. The 350 had to go to make way for an LS platform, so we pulled the 350 out, found a 6-liter, actually built it, punched it out to a 6.2, put flat top LS3 pistons in, and Texas speed cam, and a bunch of other goodies. Put it in with the SM 465, and it was an axle breaker. Dana 44s with 37-inch tires, and a built 6.2 liter was making way too much steam, and anytime we'd get good traction with the 37s, especially those heavy steel double beadlock wheels, we broke everything. I mean, day one we broke the rear drive shaft, upgraded the drive shaft. Second time out, hold on a second here, second time out, broke it was driver's side and rear axle. The next time out, it was passenger's rear axle replaced with chromoly, and then we launched out of a ditch, and once it grabbed blacktop, it snapped both of the chromoly axles. So it was time to do something different, and 2 winters ago I decided to go all the way out. So I'm going to go roughly over what we did 2 winters ago. So I ended up scrapping the frame because I knew I wanted to do something completely one off. I wasn't really excited about trying to do 4-link or any sort of real chassis modifications with the factory frame, because, you know, they're inconsistent in size, they're no fun to weld to, the metal is questionable, the shape and structure is also questionable. Hi Lena, what are you doing? It's my baby girl Lena. She's coming to do some wrenching. You gonna do some wrenching? Can you say hi?
Hi.
What do you got there? What's this? What is that? You got a 10 mil?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's why they all get lost. You want to tell them about the Jeep? Talk about the Jeep. Do you know where the turbo is?
Yeah.
Where? Can you show me?
Yeah.
Where's the turbo? You see it?
Yeah.
Where is it? Can you point to it? Can you say, hi turbo?
Hi, Turbo.
Where? Yeah. I could be distracted all day with her. So anyway, I ended up building, and if you go through the other videos on this channel, you'll see a couple really crappy videos that I tried to throw together of the build on the frame. But it's 2x4 3/16 wall, completely custom made to fit the suspension design I had planned. The center rails are 2x6 3/16 wall. it's all properly fish plated. This is extremely important when building a chassis. You cannot just butt weld these tubes together, guys. It's fish plated on the top and on the sides at each of the joints, and set up to be the right length that I needed, so that I would have just enough bumper sticking out to protect the body a little bit, but still negative approach angle. And the front was supposed to be the same way. It was supposed to end here, but what ended up happening was I had to figure out a way to fit an intercooler, so I made this bent tube front bumper assembly, which actually then doubled as sort of a stinger, which has come in use extremely, it's actually been extremely useful. So double as a winch mount. I got some criticism for the method of installation of the intercooler. People are always there to let you know when they think something's not going to work. It works great. If you watch the videos from Brainerd, this thing was out there on the street, pull after pull after pull, hurting feelings, and I only had a couple times where I had to just do a little bit of cruising to get intake air temps down. But I think even the best outfitted drag cars aren't going to be good for high boost pulls back to back to back without seeing you know, charge temps go up. So anyway, built a frame, got coilovers, built all the link bars, did the geometry myself. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a really good free software that you can download to set up your own 4-link geometry. You punch in the numbers of the length bottom bar, length of the top bar, your your overall wheelbase, the tire size, and it'll let you know what your anti-roll is, what your center of gravity is. There's a whole bunch of different things to take into account when you design these things so the chassis works the way you want it to. When you're using it, and for multiple different things, you might want some different stuff. Rock bouncers are set up a lot different than Baja trucks, and street cars are typically set up a lot different than off-road vehicles. I did something right in the middle of everything that I wanted to accomplish, which was to have something extremely streetable that had tons of ability off-road, lots of down travel. I wanted to get it as low as I could and have as much down travel as possible, because I knew I wanted to go fast on the street. I wanted to be able to drag race it, so I didn't want this big tall thing, and I didn't want it flopping over on the trail. It's been amazing, off-road and on-road, on the track, everything we've thrown at it so far. I've continued to try to get it out to the drag strip, but every single weekend, this is 3 times in a row, the drag strip has gotten rained out in the days that we were supposed to go. So a video will be coming within the next few weeks when we can finally make it to a test day and get this thing on the drag strip. When I first got it out, after doing the 4-link coilover swap, it had crazy body roll, like anything I would imagine anything would. I got these TK1 Racing heavy duty sway bar with adjustable links. I don't remove them. I keep these in place off-road. There's no need to remove them. It performs magnificently. It actually helps keep tires planted when you're side hilling. So if you think you need to remove sway bars to get better articulation off-road, all you're really doing is getting more body roll. So I never had an issue where the sway bar was the problem. Actually, I really didn't have any issues ever, except that when I put all this stuff together, I actually slapped the front cover on my diff and forgot to put fluid in it. So after a good long day of wheeling, the front end started making weird noises, and I was like, what the heck, what's going on? It's all brand new parts. Well, I opened it up to find a pile of metal shavings and a really strangely broken in ring and pinion. Because it's in the front, I'm actually just going to fill it up with fluid and let it rip. But that was still not that great of a thing to discover. So I guess we'll move on to the axles. 14 bolt Dana 60, pretty typical, nothing crazy. 410 gears. I got a Detroit in the rear. This sweet cover, because the first time out I smashed the hell out of the one that was on there, and you can see the next time out I actually got it really good, backing into a really sharp, sizable thing that would have definitely, you know, ruined part of my day if I hadn't gotten this cover. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, 410 gears, 40-inch tires. It works great because it's making like 800 horsepower. So there's no lack of ability to push these things. It's on. Let's see. Well, the very first year that we managed to get it out, we only got it out for like the last couple weeks before it snowed, and it was a stock turbo 400 with just a 1-2 trans-go shift kit, nothing else, stock converter, and we were getting crazy trans temps, like 280 degrees a couple times, like just about rolling into 300 and just launching on the street and driving it around. That was no good. And then this spring took it out, like the second time I had it out, I was doing 2-step neutral drops just to, you know, see what it would do. And the first time, leaving on 7 pounds, it was amazing. I didn't have the front strap down, so it goes to full, you know, full height on the front suspension before it sticks, but it plants really hard and it just takes off like crazy. And I had a couple kids with me that you know, were just there for the ride. They loved it. They wanted to film it. Said, do it again. I want to film this, and get out the cameras, and I do it a second time, and that trans let go. So my buddy Jason Hurdall took my Turbo 400 for me and put some 4L80 special parts in it, all new clutches, sprag, a bunch of performance parts, and then a full manual valve body. And while we were in there, we put a 1500 horsepower rated billet 2800 stall converter, which has made this thing drive unbelievably well. It is absolutely the perfect converter for the setup. The thing just absolutely rips on the street, and it performs great on the trail. I couldn't be more happy with it. I ended up putting dual coolers in, so I ran that. It's that stainless braided line with the PEX, not PEX, the hell do they call it? It's basically PEX. It's like PTFE, some kind of plastic line. Let's see if I can scoot up in here. You can see the setup. So dual coolers, all 6 AM stuff. There's my sweet MagnaFuel 750 Billy Badass inline fuel pump. I am set up for E85, but have not started using it yet. So RCI fuel cell. These are crappy coilovers. I can't wait to replace them with some struts from ORI, but this is from God, what the hell is it company? Do you remember the company that sold me the coilovers? Remember what they're called? Okay. She doesn't remember either. You don't have to know because they suck. They've been a problem since day one. They leak non-stop. I still don't have the right springs, no matter how many times I try to get them to send the right stuff. So spring rates are kind of goofy. It's supposed to be dual rate, but this thing doesn't fit the shock body, so it never actually slides. It just gets stuck, and they make noise and they leak, and I hate them. And I think this winter we're going to switch this thing completely over to ORI struts, and I'm pretty excited for that. Can't wait to talk to Chad Bartley about it over there at Hired Gun Off-Road, which is where I got 95% of the stuff that I used to build this Jeep. Chad Bartley is a fantastic guy. He hooked me up. Can't thank him enough. But yeah, speaking of stuff Chad Bartley hooked me up with, decided at the same time that I would just go full hydro and get it done with. Can't really do a 4-link front without it, and I like keeping stuff symmetrical. So 3-link, pan hard, drag link, Pitman arm, all that craps. I did it all. I did hydro assist on the last setup. I couldn't freaking stand it. It was too many parts and pieces, and regardless of how intimidating people think full hydro is, it's actually a far less complicated system than your standard steering gearbox, you know, pump and pitman arm links and all this crap, and then worrying about all the geometry of all this stuff. This thing steers perfectly straight down the road. We've had up to 130 miles an hour on the track. No problem whatsoever. Obviously, zero bump steer, zero any steer that you don't tell it to do. It's been fantastic. Got these sweet Barnes upper arms. Made these kick-ass custom bump stops out of some shit in one of the jobs I was working on, that they put the stuff on the wall to soundproof shooting ranges. So we built a shooting range, and I managed to get a hold of some of this stuff. It's really cool. And obviously if it gets beat up, I can replace it. But look at that. That's what I have for up travel before it starts to absorb. And it's actually awesome because they're pretty squishy, but it's almost like it has its own spring rate, because I hit it all the time, but you don't feel it. It doesn't feel like you're bottoming out on anything. So they work really well. We had an issue one time, first time I was out before I had bump stops, where it actually came up, and I thought that the bumps maybe on these piece of crap coilovers were going to be sufficient, but they weren't. Bottomed out, and the fitting on the hydro came up and hit the bottom of the intercooler. Luckily it was on one of the bars, so it didn't damage the intercooler too much, but it did bend that fitting down, and it could have been real bad if it would have broke the fitting. I've since inspected it to make sure that it's not leaking and it's not compromised, so that I can continue driving it without any sort of safety concern. Let's see. Actually, this is pretty sweet. So these are some awesome wheels and tires. I had these wheels and tires on the Jeep, and this is what was gonna get run this year, but I also had a Tahoe that I decided to sell, and I found this sweet H2 that had beefed up front end parts and pretty low miles, and it's a pretty good deal. Plus it had freaking $4,000 in wheels and tires on it that I knew I was going to strip off and put on my Jeep. So yeah, it worked out great. It fits the Hummer a lot better. These things rub like crazy on it, but they fit perfectly on this. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, Corbo seats, it's cool. Center thing, Winters shifter, this thing's awesome. This was supposed to be temporary, but it, you know, I'll get to it someday, but I'm going to build a box at bottom dash height so I can have the shifter up closer, but it works great the way it is. I think the thing that threw this together the most was switching over to a Holley system. Until you have one, you won't know how fantastic it is to have something like this controlling your LS swap. And I mean, this was really the first year that Holley offered an entry-level, affordable EFI system for these engines. You know, before that, it was, you know, you're looking at the Dominator, and it was just crazy. There's no way I was gonna foot the bill for something like that. So, got the Terminator X basically like as soon as it came out, and I was just getting done putting the turbo stuff together on this build. Excuse me. And that has been phenomenal. And it cleaned everything up. I use a phone for my speedometer, and this has everything else that I need. And then it's just a simple dash panel with line lock, reverse, forward lights, trans fans, two-step, a couple other things I haven't quite put together yet, but probably someday. Some water meth of some kind, or maybe pump for a different intercooler, but that's to come later. So, you know, fuel pump on. That thing is crazy loud. Works great. Never had any issues with any of it. Actually, the only thing I do have an issue with is this glow shift trans temp gauge. You can't freaking ever see if the sun is like anywhere near Earth. So you gotta be at the exact right angle, and you really gotta squint to see it. But I assume that they assume that it's going to be inside of a closed vehicle, not something exposed to the open sun all the time. So besides that, Tom Woods drive shafts, I had to have them. Well, I had to have the back one customized to be, I can't remember what size. I think it's 1410 now. We're on about the size a couple times since the very first shafts. NP208 transfer case, still holding on. Cannot believe it. Once that inevitably breaks in half, then we'll be looking at probably an Atlas or a Trailworthy Fab Hero case. Something that can handle the abuse, you know, maybe get a slightly longer drive shaft out of the deal. I did my own slip yoke eliminator for the 208. I have a video on if you are interested at all in shortening up and eliminating the slip yoke on a 208 and not paying the crazy amount of money that like the one company that makes a kit actually charges for it. It's actually really easy to do with basic tools. So there you can see billet converter in there. Otherwise, right away when we took this thing out, I had really aggressive timing, and I had a Gen 1 7875 turbo on that 6.2 that I was telling you about. Flat top, high compression. It was supposed to be built to be a torquey NA monster. Put it under boost with pump gas, making like 7 pounds on too much timing, and ended up breaking 3 pistons after like 3 or 4 street runs. Pulled it out. I was gonna completely build some super high horsepower capable LS platform thing and put some money into it, but instead I actually just bought another junkyard 6 liter, Gen 3 6 liter with stock bottom end, stock internals, put my 317s on, put my cam in, and I have been running this thing at 12-ish pounds consistently, and she loves it. 0 issues. You know, that 6.2 when it got built had the tightest ring gap tolerance that was allowable for a factory engine. My suspicion is that that is why it let go so fast, but also after examining what I thought was conservative timing and learning from the community that it in fact was conservative if you were running straight E85 or spraying a horse load of meth. I've since changed the tune, took a lot of timing out, up the boost, and then this last time when we were out at Brainerd, we actually ramped some timing back into it, and every time you add a degree to this thing, it just gets more and more insane. So PSC reservoir hydro boost brakes, which has been incredible. You can lock up these 40s with barely any effort on the pedal. I mean, literally, I guess I should say no effort on the pedal. I have an adjustable valve for the rear brake, which set once and forget really. Line lock, which is fantastic. I mean, literally just like barely touch the brake pedal, flip that line lock on, and do some rolling burnouts with this thing. I guess standing burnouts. Things to come under here is I only use this kit with the couplers as a tool to design the piping that I needed and make sure that it all worked. And this winter I will be fabricating 3.5 inch instead of this 2.5 inch full single piece charge pipe on that side and on the other side of the intercooler. I haven't had really any issues with boots besides this one coming off, and I haven't really had any issues with that since I put a different type of clamp on it and tightened the hell out of it. But I'd love to clean it up, and I would also love to knock down charge temps even more by giving the air some more room to move. You know, getting the same volume with less pressure equals less temperature. So I think we'll see a drastic improvement. It's a 3.5 inch air-to-air intercooler. Now running a Gen 2 billet wheel 7875 dual ball bearing turbo. It's been awesome. This stupid filter that's on it, I just run when I'm driving it on the street and stuff, because I'm not out there trying to, you know, squeeze every inch of horsepower, but off-road and stuff I like to have something to catch the dirt. And when we go to the track, that comes off. I have a turbo guard for it. That's the exhaust. Pretty simple. It's not even really as loud as you would think. But yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to it. Trying to think if there's anything else really. It's been a hell of an awesome project. Kids and the wife love it. Don't really have anything that I wish I would have done differently at this point. Maybe I could have cut the knuckles off this axle and rolled it back for caster angle, re-welded them to keep the pinion pointed up at the transfer case better. I still may do that with the truss welded on. It's actually going to be a little bit of a challenge. You can't really get in there to cut that weld anymore. So until it actually becomes a problem, I'm not really going to worry about it. Hasn't been a problem yet, and we've done some pretty crazy stuff off-road with it. So I use the winch as a tie down or a limiting strap really for up travel, because when you launch with this thing, the whole chassis lifts straight up, and it just kind of lifts up, and then it'll float on the coilovers. But if you can restrict the movement from the front, it tries to come up, it gets caught in that strap, and then what it actually does is squat. It just squats the rear just a tiny bit and plants super hard, so you can launch really hard with this thing and not have to worry about just breaking the tires loose. But obviously, if you want to, it's really easy to drop down and smoke the tires. And you can look on the channel for a video on that as well. But that's really all I have. Like I said, I've had a bunch of inquiries on this thing. People want to know what's going on. That's all I can really think about. If you guys have any other questions, just leave a comment in the comment section. Like the video if you actually liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more, or if you if you're just cool and you like cool stuff. There's gonna be a lot more coming out on this now that we're every day we're getting more and more ironed out, and we're gonna keep putting it to the test. And then there's some other projects that are going to be popping up on the channel pretty soon. I got a project coming up here. Actually just picked up this bad boy the other day, but a buddy of mine from work has a 78 Cadillac Sedan DeVille with a 350 diesel in it, and he wants this. That project is starting soon. That's all I'm going to say about it, but it's going to be awesome. There's going to be Holly stuff involved with that. Should be pretty sweet. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.
Hi, Mama. Hey, Mama.
Hi. Why you calling me Mama? Silly. You gotta turn it this way. Because this is where the eye is. Now I can see you. See, with this little eyeball, I can see Lena. Yeah, there, put it inside your eye. You're silly.
See?
That turns it off. You want to turn it off?
Yeah.
Hit the button.